Welcome to the Fayetteville Fire Podcast, your source for all the safety, fire, and sometimes random info you never knew you wanted. I'm Captain Shakeshaft, your host for the podcast, and I've got the best job ever. Let's talk about it. What's going on, guys?
Oh, man, it's good to see you.
Yep, good to see you.
Glad to be here.
Chief. Chief.
Newly minted Chief.
What are
you
we?
Can smell the freshness.
What are we, 48 hours in?
Not even full 48.
So, Chief Josh Hagan, tell us a little bit about you, man. How long you been around? What you been doing?
I've been 14 years here. Just moving up, having fun. Went to the rescue route and decided I was going to promote to lieutenant. Did that. Did the captain thing and took the BC thing. And
Did you spend most of your captain time at 5, or was that just your last assignment?
I spent most of it at 5. I did a very short stint at 15.
Gotcha.
And they asked if I wanted to go to 5, and I said absolutely.
You get to go with everybody.
Yeah.
They literally run with half the city and half the county, and you get to go to every call.
By far the most fun assignment I had.
Yeah.
So.
And LT over there, how's Station 2 treating you?
I love Station 2. It's a really good spot. There's a lot of good places to eat, a lot of good it's a really nice area.
I would be in a lot of trouble if I could walk to the truck stop. I would be in a lot of trouble.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's very nice.
How long have you been with Fayetteville?
22 years on the 31st of March.
Good gracious alive. Getting there.
Oh, yeah.
On the tail end.
On the downhill slope, I suppose.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today. Some folks saw the posting about our new program. We're looking at getting a therapy dog, I guess. Is that what you call it?
Sure. Yeah.
Therapy dog for the department. And that brings up a lot of other conversations talking about firefighter PTSD and firefighter stresses. And both of you serve on our peer support team, right? So,
Yes.
So what got you into wanting to do that? What was the thought process of, I want to be part of this group, before we even get into what it is?
Before I even knew we were actually doing it, I was approached by somebody that said, "I think you'd be really good on this because you really are good at talking to people, and you don't really judge anybody when they do things." So he said that, and I said, if I feel like if somebody's in a bad way and they call me, they probably have called several other people and it didn't work. So I got involved that way.
What about you, Chief?
Same thing. They're talking about starting the program, and they were kind of putting feelers out there, going around asking people. And, it was 2015, so I was 5 years in.
Yeah.
So this would be pretty cool to do, help people get through some stuff. And because we all go through things. And and I don't mind talking to people and sharing things that go on with me and, kind of opening up. And
so one of the spearheaders, retired Captain Galloway, right?
Mm-hmm.
He kind of spearheaded this. He saw the need for it in the department. We've had a chaplain's corps, which is kind of tied with you guys, not the same thing, but we work together a lot. We've had the chaplain's corps forever, and just having that outlet or that resource that is the word neutral, right, Shrek? What's the best way to put that? Having like that other resource other than just that.
I just consider it another resource. It's important to have someone that's the chaplain corps really comes at you from the position of being a religious organization. And not everybody goes to church. Not everybody understands that language. So it's good to have somebody that's just kind of unaffiliated, if you will.
Yeah,
to have a conversation with.
When I have a rookie or a firefighter who's dealing with something, what's really cool is if that person is a person of faith, they've got the chaplain's corps, they've got that option. But whether they are or not, on our peer support team, we've got former soldiers. We've got folks who have been nothing but firefighters their whole lives. We have folks who have been through divorce. We have folks who have been through these different things. And I can kind of say, hey, I think you might be the right person to help this person on that peer. Is that kind of a valid thing where everybody's got these different life experiences, so we can partner the peer support person on that team with the person who needs that support?
Yeah, that's accurate enough. It's also that when you're on a peer support team, you get to, and I guess anybody can go, but I've had several classes with some really good people from Raleigh and from out of town, and I've learned a lot about how to be an active listener and how to certain things to say and certain things to not say when you're listening to somebody. So
it's not just somebody who wants to step up and help, but it's also some training and some education
training
that goes along with it.
Yeah, training and actually a lot of Con Ed too. There's a lot of reading.
And the state team, the only exposure I've had with the state team, we had an incident a violence incident against firefighters, and they actually brought the state team in. That's the only thing. But you guys deal with them all the time, right? You guys are always training together, talking, working.
Yeah, and we're actually on a list of people who can be called for certain items because not everybody's available at the same time. So
yeah,
I mean it's maybe once or twice a month I'll get an email from somebody saying if you're free, can you go to this station in this county? And somebody just went through a traumatic event. So
yeah,
or they just had a firefighter, God forbid, but somebody died.
Yeah,
and they needed to talk to somebody that had kind of a structure to a.
And you think sometimes it might be good to have somebody not part of your agency. If you've got something going on,
Absolutely.
you might not want to talk to somebody that you see every day, right?
We share similar experiences with PD and with EMS in our area. And there's a lot of times when a PD officer would way rather talk to a firefighter than talk to another PD officer.
That's a good point.
Because we don't, and I say this all the time, my job as a fire investigator is not to adjudicate anybody. I'm not looking for a crime. I'm just trying to figure out how things happened. And PD, when you talk to when a cop talks to another cop, they're just thinking crime. And when I'm listening to them, I'm just listening to a story. I mean, it's just, I'm like, I'm blown away by their honesty, but they a lot of times they'd rather talk to me. And there's times when I'd rather talk to one of them because they don't know anything about fire. So, whatever I say, and it's, we say things to each other and we're like, whatever, I did that 9 times, but you'd say that to a police officer and they're like, oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it was crazy.
And Chief, this may seem like a silly question out the gate, but bear with me here. What rank were you when you became part of the Peer Support Team? Were you a lieutenant? Were you a firefighter?
I was a firefighter.
You're a firefighter.
Yeah.
So all levels of the organization, we have officers, we have firefighters, whatever you're more comfortable with talking. How does that, I don't want to say how does it change, but as you gain more life experience, you're promoting, you've got new experiences, does that change how you approach solving some of these things or helping people work through these things? Like you said, you're not solving their problems. You're just helping them, listening and working through them. Does that help you as you're working your way up and having these life experiences and how you approach different situations?
It's changed it up a little bit. Basically now it's more of identifying what type of problems that somebody might be having and then knowing the resources, the other guys on the team, and I can send that person in that direction to that other person. I'll give them a heads up, say, hey, this is what we have going on. Why don't you meet with them? This is where they want to meet, or have them come to wherever we are.
Yeah.
Because I have noticed as you start moving up, firefighters want to share less.
Yeah.
As you get higher up in rank, and so now I feel like more of facilitator.
Yeah.
Let's see what they have. Do they truly have a problem? Talk to them like a regular human being. Not this is captain, lieutenant, chief to firefighter. This is, hey, I know that was bad. How are you feeling? And then
it's hard to turn that off sometimes.
Yes.
Captain, lieutenant. I tell everybody, Captain Morgan retired from here and assistant chief, but he was my Captain Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to forget. It's hard to call him Kevin. You can't separate that sometimes. So even if a upper level officer needed someone to talk to, they might be more prone to go see Chief Hagan now.
Yes.
As opposed to saying, hey, I'd like to. I mean, Shrek's well respected by pretty much everybody on the agency, but they might not. They might say, I don't want to talk. I want to talk to somebody more up here. So just feels more comfortable. I don't know. Just thinking mentality when you're going through a crisis.
Yeah, it'd be more
you're
comfortable.
Not separating those things. Yeah.
It would be for me. It would be hard to go to a firefighter, especially if they've only had 2 to 3 years on the department.
Yeah.
Man, I just had this really bad call. I'm kind of messed up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go down to a firefighter. I would go to probably a lieutenant or a firefighter I really knew who had been here for a while.
And then on the flip side, if that firefighter had been through those life experiences that you'd been through and you knew that, you still might go talk to them.
Yeah, it would be
they
completely
served in
different.
the military or they've been through that situation. So it opens up doors having that broad spectrum of people on the team. How many people are on our peer support team, give or take?
About 12 right now.
About 12 of them.
It's kind of in a restructuring phase.
I got you.
A lot of people that were on have moved on to other jobs or retired.
Yeah.
And we're trying to.
Do we have some retired folks still on it?
Yeah. Ricky Kennedy's still on it.
Oh yeah. He's on state. Is he on state team too?
Yeah. Yeah, we both are.
That's cool. So one of the cool things we've got coming down the pipe, we just took some training with therapy dogs. The city is looking at having what's the official term for it, LT?
They're going to be termed facility dogs.
Okay.
A therapy dog is a much higher level of training, but we're going to call they're basically trained facility dogs, and they're going to be the push is to have a primary handler, and whoever that is will take the dog home at night, but they will bring it to work with them in the morning, and it will have its own kennel, and it will have its own turnout coat and stuff like that. It's going to be kind of neat.
Yeah.
And if something goes on, you're going to have that resource you can call on to bring a dog to a situation where somebody's, because we see, not as often as you would think, but often enough, we see some very horrible things, and having a very friendly dog come around can really take the edge off a lot of people.
Now, I had seen on one of the Facebook posts or somebody they'll even come to the scenes possibly. Is that like they'll ride the fire truck with us? Like, how does that work? I saw the dog jumping up in the truck. Will they actually be riding sometimes, not all the time, but will they actually be coming with the guys on the unit, or is that not even, I'm throwing that out there.
So classically, they're going to try to avoid that, but there's going to be, because you don't want to, scenes can last a really long time. It's very hot in North Carolina. You don't want to you don't want to leave a dog in a truck for that long. You don't want them running around a fire scene.
I don't mean that. I mean them bringing them to. You've got a bunch of dudes out for long periods of time. You could bring the dog to the scene and let the guys in rehab have the dog chilling out with the guys, right? Is that a potential, or is
that's my understanding.
Yeah. So will we have times where that handler can just take the dog around to stations even when it's not in response to a critical incident? Will they be able to just come visit with the stations? Like that
is my understanding. Yes,
I'm still learning all this.
And what a resource that would be too. And I think to begin with, at least that would be a very good resource to just. Especially on, if I were the handler and I had just nothing to do that day, it would be nothing for me to, just take that dog around and just introduce him to everybody. I think everybody would be very happy.
I saw in Wilmington, I took a class a few months ago, and the handler brought the dog out to the fire academy. They had a bunch of new recruits out there.
Yeah.
And it was during lunchtime, and they brought the dog out, and the dog just kind of hung out with everybody. And
yeah, I think we focus on the advantages of, they just went through something or they're going through something, having that dog to come out and kind of de-escalate that stress, put a little smile on people's faces, but also preemptively too. Just bringing that dog to the station and hanging out with the troops and letting them play a little bit and put that smile on their face preemptively is just as important, I would think.
Oh, yeah. That's the way I feel about it as well.
Yeah. So what kind of stuff in the class, what kind of stuff were we learning about? Like, obviously, we don't have our dog yet. We're hopefully having our dog, you said, this summer?
I think so.
Summer. So what kind of stuff were we looking at in that class? What kind of stuff were we learning?
Mostly we were just learning dog handling because they were raised from puppies to be facility dogs. So they have some very strict commands that they are to obey, and situations and things that you get them in. It was how to handle, those things. Like if you're, if I take them it's a working dog, I can take it into, the store with me.
Yeah.
And if somebody, there's a way to allow somebody to meet the dog or pet the dog, and and certain things that I should say to those people about the program so that, it gets a wider view.
So what kind of, when we're talking about the peer support program, we've got this new innovative idea of having the pup come around. What other kind of stuff can we offer our people when it comes to critical incident stress, post-traumatic stress, stress management in advance of? What kind of things can we offer our people and help them with, whether it be in response to or in advance of these traumatic events that firefighters can handle and see?
So I guess the bigger issue is that not every piece of stress that you have comes from being a firefighter. There's a lot of life stress you have coming in.
Really?
Yes.
What?
I mean, and I know everybody at this table understands that because you're all, we're all married basically, and we've got things going on. But, you come in at a certain level, and I think it's very important for people to, especially for captains and lieutenants, to sit down with your people in the morning and kind of send a probe down and just see how everybody's doing, just to ask how everybody's doing, and you can tell on a lot of people when they're having something heavy on them, And, you can kind of, you can take that person off to the side and just, tell them that you're thinking about them and that you're respecting their pain. And I think that would be very helpful. It's something that's not really taught as much, but it's something I think that we should all do as leaders, at least.
He hit it right on the head.
Yeah.
I mean, just knowing your people.
Yeah.
We spend all kinds of time together. So you should, as a good supervisor, good leader, if your guy comes in or girl comes in, just by the look, you should know, something's off.
And it's okay to have a bad day.
Yeah.
It's those patterns you got to watch out.
In my career, I've only had a few captains, but every one of them, I took them off to the side when I first got there, and I said, there's going to come a day when I'm not going to be feeling really well, and I'm going to have something on my mind I'm going to tell you. And your job from that point on is to make sure I don't get into a really tight situation because I'm very comfortable with violence. But and they're like, oh, what's going on? And I tell them, this is what's happening. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
I said, but it's just on me right now. It's not a big deal. I don't want to call it sick necessarily, but just keep an eye on me.
Yeah.
And I've had and at least one or two of my captains have come to me and said, I'm having one of your days, man. I need. And this isn't even every year this happens. It's just every once in a while.
Yeah.
There's just enough on somebody where it would be more responsible for somebody to come in hot like that and to tell me that they're hot like that so that I can kind of stop people from messing with them, other firefighters and stuff, and kind of keep them away from stressful situations. Our job is incredibly stressful, but the job stresses, it's almost nothing compared to if you're in a bad way and everybody else is happy.
Yeah.
That just magnifies how messed up you are. And it's important to, like I said, it's just important to send that probe down and just get a feel for how everybody's doing.
Yeah.
And if you develop your crew dynamic, make sure you follow that tradition of the fire service being a family.
Yeah.
People are inclined to talk.
Yeah.
They're inclined to pull other firefighters aside, maybe call the captain, text the captain off duty. The ways you go about it, you can call somebody into your office when you need to talk to them specifically, but you can also call everybody else in like you're doing some sort of evaluation.
Yeah. Or you can catch them out back behind the bay and just chit chat for a little bit over the grill, or one of the things that I said for years, and I'm proud of our organization and where we've come with this mindset, is we're not too big of an organization that the chief, the battalion chief, not necessarily chief of, but the battalion chief or the assistant chief can't show up at a station and say, hey, Josh, how's the wife and kids? Not this needs to be done, not this didn't get done. Just sit down and have lunch, and how's the family? And I think we've come a long way with that at the chief level. You guys have I've been off the streets for 5+ years. So am I right in that observation that I feel like I'm seeing that we're getting better at that?
I'll go a little more in depth than that. There was Chief Ferguson was in the class with me, and we were getting the dogs to do things, and as they did them, we rewarded them. We petted them, or I gave them a treat or something. And he says, man, I wish I could get my firefighters to work like this. And I said, give us treats, bro. And he started laughing, and I said, I'm not kidding. One of the best things that ever happened to me on the fire department, that ever happened to me outside of a good call, was I was at work on my side job, and the phone rang, and it was Chief Hill. And I answered the phone, and he said, hey, man, what's going on? And I said, nothing, just out here, building some walls. And he says, cool, it's just your birthday, man. I thought I'd call and say happy birthday. And I said, no kidding, bro. And he says, no. And I said, man, I will remember you forever for doing this. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I said, because you were the first chief that's ever called me on my birthday. And I don't know that it's even possible to call for a chief to call everyone.
Yeah.
For the chief to call everyone. But I think it's possible for someone, one of the chiefs, to call someone. That was one of the happiest. I was like, man, cool. You're okay.
Cool. Yeah.
I take back every bad thing I've said about you, and it's a lot.
Similar situation. I had just got assigned, and since we're throwing names out, I'll throw names out. I had just got assigned to Station 7 as a firefighter right before I made lieutenant, and we spent all day painting fire hydrants from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. We stopped for lunch, and that was it. All we did was paint hydrants. And later that evening, Captain John Chapman walked in the living room and said, everyone get on the truck. Where are we going? Shut up and get on the truck. And he went and got us milkshakes from Cookout.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
like a
simple things.
99-cent
Thanks, bro.
milkshake.
Yep.
Be a human. Yeah.
It made all the difference in the world. That's all
Absolutely.
it took. And the same thing for that happy birthday phone call or that, hey, how's things going? Simple Hayes. And I think we're doing a lot better at that. And that's how you know your people to know when something's wrong, right?
Oh,
if
yeah.
you don't know them, you're not going to know when they're off. If I don't know when you're right, I don't know when you're off. Even you can still sense it, right? I saw a little look there, but
no, it's a deeper issue than that, though, because, and I'm bad for this too, but I don't know my captain's wife's name, and I should know that. I don't know his birthday, and I should probably know that, because it's a brotherhood. Those are things I should pay attention to, and we get so busy doing the things we do that we don't get to have that conversation. It's. I don't know how everybody else is. I still have time to work out and read, but there's a lot of data entry that goes on. There's a lot of things that I can do as an individual, or one of my firefighters goes off and does as an individual, and we, I think we kind of lack that, and I think that's something that's been lacking in the fire service for a while. And I still feel like you guys are my brothers. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know either of your birthdays. And I've met your wife, but I can't remember her name right now. She seemed like a sparkling individual.
She is.
I wish I could remember that chick's name.
But I like I said, I think we've made a lot of progress in that, and we're still learning. We're still growing. We're still getting there, right? So yeah, anything. One of the things I was looking at when I was reading, we talked a little bit about our firefighters who are former military, and April is Month of the Military Child, and that got me thinking about. It's one of the things they focus on military families. And what's weird about the Fayetteville Fire Department is you've got families of firefighters that are also military kids because they were raised in the military or whatever. And do we offer that similar support to the families? Do we have that same? Can a firefighter bring their wife in for these conversations? Do we have resources, even if it's not the peer support team? Do we have the resources to point them to for their families?
If you have a crew, I think one of the better things you could do is send the wife and family of that crew a thank you letter and say a card and say, thank you for sharing your husband or wife with me for 24 hours at a time.
Yeah.
I know it's a burden on you, but we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think when that guy got home and that wife was reading that card to him, I think he'd say, okay, these are my people. These are my people.
And I was at a station that was tight like that. The wives hung out on when we were at work, the wives would get together and hang out. And when we were all off, we would all get together. And that was one time in 20 years. I've only had one station that was that tight-knit, right? But again, the resources, not only are they there, the formal EAP stuff that, is there for you, all that formal stuff, but that informal, that letter, that building those bonds, we've come a long way. Still got a long way to go.
Oh, yeah. But we're on track. I mean, we're going in a very positive direction.
100%.
And there's a lot of places out there that aren't going in any direction.
Yeah.
And if you're not moving forward, you're kind of backing up. So.
Yep. And we're supported.
Yeah.
Our overhead supports this whole program completely.
And that makes all the difference in the world.
It makes a huge difference.
There was Chief Hill kind of started he was the chief when the peer support team started, correct? Chief Hill was over that?
It was in 2015.
It was 15.
Maybe he might have been deputy chief. I just
he might have been
deputy. He was a super
supporter
of it at the time. I remember Chief Hill was.
He was a huge supporter of the peer fitness program also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was really wanted that to work.
Yeah. So having that leadership support right now, Dove is full in. Council's been supportive, management's been supportive. It's been a lot of red tape and technicalities and things we got to work through, but they've been there to help work through them.
It's growing pains, but at least we're growing. At least we're moving.
Cool. So anything that I miss? Anything else? I can't remember if we chatted offline beforehand. About it.
We've definitely talked, but I don't. I'm sure we covered most of the stuff.
Yeah. If we get together, we talk a little too much, I'm sure.
And I will say to anybody that's listening to this, if you're hurting, if you're having problems, reach out. You don't have to reach out to a peer support person. You can reach out to just a friend or a some loved one. But you just remember, man, you're not alone. I mean, everybody's going through things.
Yeah.
and sometimes all you need to do is share it. Sometimes if you share something, you'll cut the pain in half.
Yeah.
I mean, it really helps.
I will say this, the confidentiality, since 2015, I've never heard of anything getting out.
Yeah, me either.
Anything. Nothing has gotten out.
Call, it's between you and that person.
We don't even talk to the other peer support guys. If you came to me with a problem and you said, hey, this is between me and you, I wouldn't call him up and be like, hey, I just had a guy from the fire department come to me and say he had XYZ happen. We don't do that.
Yeah.
And I have yet to hear anything getting out.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had a pastor, he told me one of my favorite quotes of his was, there's only 3 stages of life. You're either going into a storm, going through a storm, or coming out of a storm. I mean, everybody's going through something. Don't be afraid to reach out. Talk to your people. Guys, thank you so much for coming down and chatting with us today. We'll have you back sometime in the future for something, I'm sure.
Yeah, man.
So hope
really
you
enjoyed it.
Glad you came. So thanks for joining us for the Fayetteville Fire Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to Radio Fayetteville on your favorite streaming platform to listen to all of our podcasts. Join us again next month, but until then, stay safe, Fayetteville.